We're here, and we're making movies.
I'm in North Dakota.
You're making movies?
Yeah, North Dakota?
Making movies.
In North Dakota?
Are you familiar with North Dakota?
You know those two fellas you put me in touch with up there in Fargo?
Fargo, North Dakota.
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Dickinson.
Monarch.
Jamestown.
Williston. Standing Rock.
North Dakota!
I've been making movies myself lately.
In North Dakota.
Making movies is the most wonderful thing in the world. And North Dakota. Well.
I come from North Dakota, and bigger, better country you can't find.
Welcome to the Film North Dakota Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fernan. We are joined today by a filmmaker and musician, Zeapoe Matalda. Originally from West Fargo and now studying computer science at NDSU, Zeapoe blends music and filmmaking into work that's quickly gaining attention across the region. Zeapoe is the creator of Pretty the Musical, a new action comedy musical short film that premiered this spring at Concordia College. Zeapoe, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. And first, for people who may not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what pulled you into this really cool combination I think you have of filmmaking and music?
Yeah, so my background is, I would say music composition. That's what I have my formal training in. Classical music, to be specific. However, after graduating from undergrad, I moved more in the realm of theatrical music, and I have always been very eclectic. So I tend to write in genres that I have never really studied. And I love hip hop. I love music from different cultures. So a lot of my work tends to span very different hemispheres. So that's kind of what I do musically. And I kind of started to expand into film during the pandemic. I found that film was a great way to get art created without having a ton of people in the same space. And that was a blessing in disguise in a way, because I kind of learned more about the film world, and that was a whole new path and so many things to learn in such a broad landscape. I had a lot of great collaborators in the community who kind of helped me along. Some local filmmakers who have taught me the ropes, and I've been able to just navigate, the local film scene, and that has been very helpful in getting me more acclimated to filmmaking, that now I can produce and be confident in what I do.
Well, you should definitely be confident. It is really awesome. I really was just so blown away by the ambition behind it. It really reminded me of Charlie's Angels, but it was made here in Fargo. And I loved all the different scenes. They start on a boat, and then they go undercover at this fancy dinner. Then they blow up the building of the fancy dinner. Then they're on campus. And I just love the scope and how you went there. Dealt with a lot of the tropes from those films, but in your own way. And then the really cool magic behind it, I thought, was the music, which was really unique because it was kind of a mix of score, the score and then some actual musical numbers. Tell me a little bit about where the idea came from, Pretty the Musical. Did the music come first, or did the movie come first?
So the song came first, and that is our title track, Pretty. It was a very simple, catchy, very repetitive song, and it was mostly just to celebrate feminism and being a whole person, and being able to dwell in different aspects of who you are. You can be as simple as someone who loves to wear fancy clothes all the time and do your hair, and you can also be a badass, kick-ass person who is really smart and so it's kind of taking all those different aspects of being female and what it means to be feminine in different lights. So I wanted to take that and kind of put it against a film that would look completely unexpected from what the song kind of gives you at first. So that was kind of the concept. There's a moment in the film towards the end when we do have like we have the big our big climactic moment, and the film that the music kind of like starts to like come in at the very last part of it, and that is like kind of the juxtaposition that we were going for, is like very simple song against a very complex like experience that these girls have, and that's kind of where that idea came from.
Really, really awesome work here. The other thing I really liked about it, you really built a community behind this film, and then also just a lot of great female talent behind the camera as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you built the team behind this and what they brought to the project?
That is my favorite topic. So the team was put together in fall of 2023, and this was before we had funding. So we were kind of going off of this hope that we were going to get funded and sponsored, and we had this script that was like very ambitious, and the plan was, you know, depending on funding, we were going to like do what we had to do and figure it out. But like essentially, having worked in the community for the last few years, or since 2020, I'd say, I have gotten to know a lot of like some of the people here who are doing great work. And also, we have this awesome Fargo community theater like Facebook page, and some of it was just me like reaching out on there and asking if like anybody wants to collab, and I showed people some of my previous work and they were interested in getting to meet and like, you know, put ideas together. It kind of just became this like love fest of people who wanted to like make film but didn't necessarily have a lot of things going on. So that's kind of where that came from. And then we got this great artistic team together, and we had meetings very often, about once a month, to get ourselves like acclimated to one another and to make decisions about all of the logistical things that we wanted to do in the film. So they were the key to the gravy. I don't know what else to say. They were helping me shape the film. And then our director, Tracy Aronson Johnson, she
Who's also
was
one of the three spies as well.
yes,
You also
yes,
are, you know, one of the three spies, I should note, for people who haven't seen the
yes.
film.
So she came in with just such a clear vision of what she wanted to do. And that took a load off of me, having been a director in the past. I'm like, I can just concentrate on producing. So we had a very like well-balanced group of creatives and people just willing to like do this work. And we had a great casting director, Eric Player, who's a filmmaker in town. He does a lot of some commercial things. And we had Jessica Hayes, who is a very well-known actor, performer, collaborator in town. And she was working on casting. And it helps when you have someone who knows almost everybody in town working on casting. It was just like, it was like the best like fiesta of art and creativity, and we faced a lot of challenges in the process, but we all, having our own individual experience, were able to overcome things really well and keep it going.
And I believe Jessica is also in the film as well, right? Wasn't she the manager of the catering company or something?
She was.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was her. Yeah, no, I loved it. Loved the vibe, loved the energy. Just really positive, a really fun film, great tone. You know, you mentioned, you know, putting this together without having all the funding in place. And I did read that you received some support from the Minnesota State Arts Board and the Lake Region Arts Council. Can you tell us a little bit about how that helped the film and that process for maybe someone else who's trying to get funding as well?
Absolutely. So Minnesota Arts Board has grant programs for individuals who want to create art in rural Minnesota. So we were one of the projects that they felt would not only bring together diverse groups, but also people of different ages, people from rural towns. So those are some of the incentives that they look for when they look at funding projects. And we just kind of like naturally like fit what they wanted to do. And I think that is the key to anybody who's looking to get funding through them, is having a clear idea of what you want to do, while also thinking of like, how can I get the community involved? Because that is the goal of the organization, is to get Minnesotans exposed to art and creativity. And film is the best mechanism for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the super art. It merges so many different art forms, from music to acting to painting. It really brings a lot of people together and can have an impact. And I'm so glad you made this film here in our region. And I really do think you made an impact in the community. I saw you guys even had a red carpet premiere. How did that come together, and what did that mean to you?
So that was a very special night. We had a lot of support from people who had been supporting us since we started the project, and they were able to help us set up the event. We had support from Concordia College Music Department. I also work in the music department, so it was a very unexpected like melding of two different worlds. And a lot of the faculty there were so excited. They're all musicians and they're all like, they couldn't wait to see it. So we had that support. And then we had the community, and we had gotten a lot of attention in the forum, and people were just, I guess, very excited, and people showed up very dressed up. We were like having the best time, like taking tons of pictures. And I think it was just the most exciting event to have for that film after a very long post-production period that we didn't anticipate, but it was a great way to like kind of like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw a lot of great press here. Really seems like a great event here. Growing up between Fargo and Minneapolis, do you think, that impacted your work in any way, or your voice as an artist, as a musician, filmmaker, or even choreographer?
Say so. I think my influence, like I grew up listening to a lot of West African music. That's, my family is Liberian. And we had a lot of like different cultures around us in Minneapolis, and it was a very diverse place. And I kind of like got that foundational like love for just like culture growing up. And then coming to Fargo, I felt definitely like we could do more with like bringing in different styles of like music and different, different cultures. And I think I watched a lot of diversity happen in the last few years in Fargo, and it's become this very like just amazingly creative place where you can get all sorts of different influences. And I think I kind of want to just build on that, and that's kind of where my inspiration came from, is just like being in community with people.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I love those videos you made online for YouTube where you show, say you're building a community here. That's really cool. Just being open. Whenever I make a film, I used to always think like, oh, you got to keep it quiet until it's ready, but I do think that is the wrong way to do it. I think you got to start building community from the get-go and get these champions and people invested in the movie. And it really does, I think, go a lot further when you have a community behind it. That's so cool. What advice would you give to someone in North Dakota or Minnesota who wants to make their short film, but feels intimidated by the process here? What would you say to them?
Say that the most important thing is to just try to find collaborators and reach out to people and see who might be interested in working with you. I think that's how I've learned how to be a producer. Is I've had a lot of other people with more knowledge than I have who have been able to like interpret like what I want to do and say, okay, this is a good idea. Let me show you, like, maybe my perspective. And I think that is how you become a filmmaker. You work with other people and talk about what you want to do. And then they'll say, well, I'm really good at the XYZ. And then before you know it, you have your team already building. And don't be afraid to tell stories that, are important to you. I think that is something that brings a lot of people together, is just being able to be creative and use your imagination. So don't be afraid to use your imagination.
Is it reminiscent of recording music? You need a bass player, and you want the best in each field. And each musician does bring like a little different flavor to the music. Do you see any parallels in creating music to creating film?
See a lot of parallels. I do think that in terms of like creating, I think when you're trying to put together a song or something similar, you have all these people who play different parts, and film is like an expansion of that. Now you have even more creative people that do even more things. It's like, I feel like that's like kind of like the I guess the top of the tree there is just like, the next level up is film, and it's kind of so many different departments that have to work together to bring it to life. And I think that is very similar to music. It's similar to like live theater, similar to anything that any type of like event you want to put together. You have the people who are directing, and then you have the people who are catering, and you have like, it's kind of like just the same.
Well, and speaking of the next level here, you have a new project already in the works, America's Most Wanted. You can go to xenafilms.net, xenafilms.net, and America's Most Wanted, and you shot a couple-minute trailer there for the project, which I think is really awesome, because then you give the audience and investors and crew something tangible to look at. Tell us about that project and where that came about from.
Yeah, so this next project that I'm working on is called America's Most Wanted, and it kind of started once more with a song. I am a songwriter at heart, so I kind of like start with something of that nature, and then I think about what type of like film would I like add to this music. And it's a very fun story, and I kind of like have this like spiel for it. So it's about someone who was once an A-list socialite, and they fall from stardom in a public scandal that turns out to be more complex than anyone could have imagined. So it's kind of like a classic like American scandal story, and it's like fun, it's youthful. There's, we have it in a college setting. That tends to be a very like natural space for me to write in, just based off of like what I've been able to cast in our area. But like I love the genre because it is exciting, it's high stakes, and we can like really like connect with our audiences because we're in America, and like you can kind of relate it to the times. So it's something I think that is on people's radar. Is just going to be really exciting.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to learn more about it here, and I encourage everyone to check it out. xenafilms.net. Zeapoe, anything else here? How else can people get a hold of you and connect with you?
Yeah, so the best method, I would say I am always responsive via email. However, if you can't remember my email, zeapoe@gmail.com, you can reach me on Instagram. Xenafilms_official as our Instagram. And I have a personal Instagram too, which is ZM Matalda Music. So the @ sign and then that. But I am also, I can also be reached through the website. There's a place on there where you can leave a comment or you can like send a message. But I love to connect with creative people. I love to meet new people. So please do reach out. Also, we are doing fundraising, so if you want to support us for our next film, that information is also on the website. It's called the Pretty Big Dream Fundraiser, and we would love support from anyone who can help us out.
And is that for America's Most Wanted or specifically?
So it's going to be mostly for America's Most Wanted. We do also want to raise funds for our film festival run for Pretty the Musical. So it's kind of a combined fundraiser, just easier that way. And yeah, I mean, it's going to all lead to us getting our film out there or getting our film completed.
Thank you so much, Zeapoe, for taking time today to talk to me, but also for making just some kick-ass genre movies. Fun, really cool, original, musical action comedies in the Midwest here. I know I want more of those. So, yeah, really awesome to have your voice here, making movies here. And everyone check her out here, xenafilms.net. And thank you all for listening to this week's episode of the Film North Dakota podcast, brought to you by Film North Dakota. We are a 501c4 nonprofit advocacy organization helping to grow and connect filmmaking in North Dakota. Check us out. Become a member at filmnorthdakota.com. Thank you guys for listening, and keep making movies in North Dakota.
Well, I come from North Dakota, where the sun shines brighter and the country's wider than the sky. I come from